Ever felt like you're surrounded by performers? I certainly have. People don facades daily, pretending to be someone they're not. But here's the fascinating part: once you learn to look beyond the surface, you'll see through the act. I recall a meeting where everyone was nodding and smiling, yet I sensed hidden agendas lurking beneath those grins. It was all in their body language, the silences, the subtle pauses. Trust me, once you start noticing these cues, your perception of others will shift dramatically. Are you ready to uncover what lies beneath? Let's get started. Hey buddy, if you haven't hit the red button or the bell icon yet, please do. Support my efforts and subscribe to Stoic Motive now. First up, the tell me more technique. Think of this as a superpower minus the flashy costume or cape. The best part? No one even realizes you're wielding it. It's incredibly simple yet remarkably effective. All you have to do is relax, stay composed, and when someone passionately shares their story, instead of jumping in with your own opinion or trying to debate, you just say 3 little words: tell me more. I discovered this technique years ago during a debate with a friend about whether pineapple belongs on pizza of all things. I was prepared to counter every point they made, but something shifted. Instead of arguing, I simply smiled and said, "Tell me more." What followed was astonishing. They began discussing pizza, but soon enough, they were sharing childhood memories of family dinners, their favorite foods, and even a quirky tale about why they hated pineapple as a child. It transformed from a pizza debate into a profound exploration of their inner world, all because of those 3 little words. Here's the insight: when people feel heard, they let down their defenses. Without the need to argue or defend themselves, they often share far more than they intended. You create a safe environment where they feel comfortable enough to drop their usual barriers. They may think they're just chatting, but in reality, they're unveiling their motivations, fears, insecurities, and even dreams, often without realizing it. I've employed this technique in business meetings, with friends, and even with those who were acting a bit shady. Once, during a negotiation, rather than pushing my agenda, I simply kept asking, "Tell me more." By the end, the other party had laid out their entire strategy, revealing their desperate need for a deal. They practically handed me the keys to their kingdom, all because I chose to listen. It felt almost too effortless. But here's the deeper truth: this isn't merely a tactic for extracting information or winning arguments, it's about connection. In a world where everyone rushes to speak but hesitates to listen, tell me more becomes a pathway to understanding others on a profound level. It compels you to step outside your own ego, to pause and genuinely care about the other person's viewpoint. When you invite people to elaborate without judgment, you offer them a rare gift: the experience of truly being heard. In those moments, you cultivate trust, understanding, and sometimes even healing. This technique embodies a fundamental principle of Stoicism, practicing empathy without attachment. You're not trying to steer or manipulate the conversation. Instead, you're observing, understanding, and maintaining your composure. It's not just about reading others, it's about perceiving their true selves and giving them the freedom to express who they are. So, the next time you find yourself in a conversation, whether it's a casual exchange, a negotiation, or even a heated argument, give the tell me more technique a try. You'll be surprised by how much deeper the dialogue becomes, how much people open up, and how easily you can grasp their perspective without needing to push. More than simply winning an argument, this method fosters authentic human connections rooted in respect and genuine curiosity. That's where true power lies, in truly seeing others, and through that understanding, gaining insight about yourself. Next, pay attention to how they treat those in lesser positions. If you want to uncover someone's true character, don't just focus on their behavior toward you, observe how they interact with those they consider beneath them. This can be a controversial point, as it unveils some uncomfortable truths about human nature. Whether it's a waiter at a restaurant, a cashier at a grocery store, or a coworker in a subordinate role, how someone treats those with less power speaks volumes about who they are. I learned this lesson the hard way. I once worked with someone who appeared to be the nicest person, charming, funny, and always respectful during meetings. But one day, while we were out to lunch, I witnessed a different side of them. As soon as we sat down, they treated the waiter rudely, barking orders as if they were royalty and the server was beneath them. It was shocking to see such a rapid shift from friendly to dismissive and arrogant. That moment was a wake-up call, And I realized this wasn't an isolated incident, it revealed their true character. Their kindness was conditional, only expressed when it served their interests. People often reveal their genuine nature when they think no one significant is watching. If they're condescending to the waiter, they'll likely be condescending to anyone they perceive as unable to retaliate. If they dismiss a colleague simply because of their junior position, you can bet that arrogance and disrespect will manifest in other aspects of their life as well. The person who is kind to you but rude to others isn't truly kind, they're calculating. Consider this when there's no social pressure to act politely, and someone knows they can behave poorly without consequence. When someone behaves poorly, that's when their true character emerges. Stoicism teaches us to observe human behavior with clarity, and this serves as a strong indicator of a person's integrity. It's easy to be pleasant when there's something to gain, but real character surfaces when someone has nothing to lose. I've applied this principle in my friendships, workplace dynamics, and even in dating. It's become a silent gauge for me if someone shows respect to the janitor, thanks the bus driver, or extends kindness to a stranger. That's a person worth knowing. Conversely, if they're unnecessarily harsh or dismissive, that's a warning sign that can't be overlooked. What's even more revealing is that how we treat others reflects our self-perception. Individuals who respect everyone, regardless of their status, often possess a strong sense of self. They don't need to belittle others to feel significant. In contrast, those who are cruel are usually projecting their own insecurities, trying to elevate themselves by stepping on those they view as weaker. This arrogance is something Stoicism encourages us to recognize and steer clear of within ourselves. So if you want to truly understand someone, don't be misled by how they treat those they wish to impress. Instead, focus on how they engage with those who can offer them nothing. This is the clearest window into their true nature. Next, consider that their past holds the key to understanding their present. People often claim that the past is behind them, but the reality is that it continues to shape who they are today, whether they realize it or not. Their experiences, traumas, triumphs, and relationships all influence how they think, behave, and interact with you in the here and now. This perspective can be contentious because it suggests that people don't simply move on, they carry their histories with them, and that history often serves as a blueprint for their actions. I once had a friend who always seemed anxious, regardless of the situation. They were overly defensive, quick to anger, and very cautious in relationships. Initially, I attributed this to their personality, but as I learned more about their background, things began to make sense. They had faced deep betrayal from trusted individuals, endured financial struggles, and grown up in an environment where they constantly had to prove their worth. Everything clicked into place. Their defensiveness wasn't random, it was a protective mechanism developed from a history of hurt. Our past experiences leave lasting impressions, sometimes even scars, and they can illuminate why someone behaves the way they do. For instance, a person who felt neglected in childhood may seek constant validation as an adult, while someone who's been burned by a business partner might develop a deep distrust of potential collaborators. The goal here isn't to excuse people's actions, but to recognize that they often react not just to the present, but also to echoes of their past. Stoicism encourages us to perceive situations as they are, free from judgment, and understanding someone's history is crucial to seeing them clearly. I've witnessed this in romantic relationships as well. Have you ever dated someone who initially seems great, only to have certain patterns emerge? They might be overly jealous or struggle with commitment. More often than not, if you look deeper, you'll discover that their past relationships have left scars that haven't fully healed. It's the fear of experiencing pain again that shapes their current behavior. Recognizing this doesn't mean you have to accept toxic actions, but it provides insight into why they behave the way they do. The harsh reality is that people often find themselves stuck in cycles, repeating behaviors shaped by past experiences. It's as if they are trapped in a loop, unaware that they're reliving the same patterns. That coworker seeking constant validation likely stems from a childhood in which they never felt adequate. The friend who sabotages every relationship may be acting out of a profound fear of rejection rooted in past heartbreak. Their reactions, habits, and choices all reflect unresolved issues from their history. What's even more profound is that understanding someone's past not only aids in navigating your relationship with them, but can also help them break free from these cycles. If you can gently highlight the patterns they're repeating, you might encourage them to gain greater self-awareness. In doing so, they may confront what they've been avoiding for years. Stoicism values self-reflection and personal growth, and sometimes knowing someone's history can enable you to guide them towards self-improvement. It's easy to judge people solely on their current behavior, but their past often holds the key to understanding the motivations behind those actions. When you start viewing their behaviors as responses to their history, you can approach them with empathy, while also safeguarding yourself from getting entangled in their unresolved issues. In essence, the past is always a part of the present. To truly grasp who someone is, you need to see the complete picture, not just the current chapter they're living through. I know you watch a lot of videos, but I put in extensive research to create content that truly resonates. If this journey has touched your heart, I invite you to subscribe and join our community. Share in the comments which habit resonates with you. The most your insights could inspire someone else on their path. If you believe these ideas can make a difference, please like and share this video. Let's spread the message of self-discovery and resilience together. Remember, every step we take is a step toward our true selves. I'm here for you, and together we can grow. 4 sudden shifts in tone can indicate deception or uncertainty. One of the clearest signs that someone might be lying or concealing something is a sudden alteration in their vocal tone. Many people are unaware, but our voices can often reveal what's happening beneath the surface. When someone speaks confidently, their tone is steady, their pace is consistent, and their words flow smoothly. However, if there's a lie or hesitation, that dynamic changes sometimes subtly, sometimes quite dramatically. It's as if their subconscious is trying to raise red flags, hoping you'll take notice. I once worked with a colleague who was always smooth-talking, effortlessly charming, and knew precisely what to say. Yet one day, during a discussion about a project deadline, I noticed a shift. His usually bright and confident voice suddenly faltered, slowing down and almost stuttering. Instantly, I sensed something was off, and it turned out he hadn't made any progress on the project and was attempting to cover it up. That change in tone was telling he wasn't being entirely truthful, and it was evident in the way he spoke. This happens because when people lie or feel uneasy about what they're saying, their body and mind enter a conflict. Their brain tries to uphold the lie or conceal their uncertainty, but their body, particularly their voice, can't help but reveal the tension. This might manifest as a higher pitch, a crack in their voice, or a pause that stretches just a bit too long. It's like their tone becomes misaligned with their words. Think back to a time you caught someone in a lie. How did their voice change? Did they suddenly become quieter, or did they start speaking more quickly? Perhaps their voice adopted a forced cheerfulness, as if they were trying too hard to sound normal. These are all indicators that something is amiss. The shift in tone serves as a subconscious signal of discomfort, whether it stems from lying, hiding something, or simply feeling unsure. It's not solely about detecting lies. Sudden changes in tone can also indicate hesitation or uncertainty. For instance, I had a friend who would enthusiastically agree to plans, but the moment I suggested something she wasn't keen on, her tone would shift dramatically. She'd go from excited to flat, as if a switch had been flipped. That was my cue that she wasn't entirely on board, even if her words suggested otherwise. This phenomenon can occur in relationships, business negotiations, and even casual conversations. You've likely noticed it too, when someone transitions from upbeat and friendly to defensive or evasive, even if their words don't match that change. In those moments, it's essential to pay attention not just to what they're saying, but how they're saying it. A sudden drop in energy, a change in pitch, or an unexpected hesitation can serve as subconscious indicators that the person is lying or withholding something significant. And here's the deeper Stoic lesson: people often lie not merely to deceive others, but to deceive themselves. When their tone shifts, it's not always about manipulation, it's often rooted in their discomfort with the lie they're telling themselves. This unease seeps into their voice, exposing them without their awareness. Stoicism teaches us the value of observing without judgment, and this skill is crucial in understanding others. By noticing the subtle changes in someone's tone, you can gain insight into their internal struggles. We also do this to ourselves. How often have you spoken words you didn't fully believe, only to hear your voice waver? Your tone becomes a reflection of your inner doubts. This is why Stoicism emphasizes the need to align your thoughts, words, and actions when they're out of sync. It manifests in ways you may not even control. So the next time you're engaged in conversation and notice an unexpected shift in someone's tone, be it a sudden drop in energy, an awkward pause, or a change in pitch, don't overlook it. Consider what they might be holding back or feeling uncomfortable about. It may not indicate a blatant lie, but there's a strong possibility they aren't sharing the whole truth. Their voice serves as a tell, and if you listen carefully, you'll catch these cues every time. 5. The most genuine moments occur when they believe no one is watching. If you want to truly understand someone's core self, observe them when they think no one is paying attention. These moments reveal the masks people wear in public, the social personas they've constructed to fit in or get ahead, and unveil their true nature. This truth can be uncomfortable, as many of us like to believe that our public selves reflect our private selves. Yet, reality often shows a stark contrast in behavior when individuals think they're out of sight. I recall a manager who always projected professionalism. When the boss was around, she engaged in polite small talk, maintained composure, and never raised her voice. However, once our higher-ups left the office, she morphed into a different person entirely. She would snap at the team, make condescending comments, and show a complete lack of respect. It was a shocking transformation, and it taught me a valuable lesson. The person someone is when they think they're unobserved is often their most authentic self. When people are in the spotlight, they become acutely aware of how they're perceived. They act in ways they believe will gain approval or avoid conflict. But the moment they feel unseen, those filters drop. You can witness this in small moments: how they respond when they think no one is watching, how they treat those who can't offer them anything, or how they behave when they believe there are no repercussions. In these seemingly trivial interactions, their true self is often laid bare. This principle applies across all areas of life, from relationships to business to everyday interactions. Take romantic partnerships, for instance. At the start, both individuals typically put their best foot forward, eager to impress one another. However, if you truly wish to understand someone, observe them during quieter moments when they're not actively trying to win you over. How do they treat the waiter when you're out for dinner? What are they like under stress, or when they believe you're not paying attention? Do they maintain kindness, patience, and respect, or do they drop their facade and reveal less admirable traits? I've witnessed this in social settings as well. You might have a friend who lights up a room when everyone is watching, always making jokes and drawing attention to themselves. Yet, when they think no one is observing, they might come across as aloof, selfish, or dismissive. Their true character emerges not in grand public displays, but in small, private moments. This is where the Stoic perspective is valuable. As a Stoic, you learn to observe life with objectivity and without judgment. People frequently disclose their true selves when they believe they're offstage, and it's in these instances that you can genuinely understand them. Stoicism teaches that virtue isn't about how we behave when others are looking, but how we act when no one is around. The individual who remains kind, patient, and respectful, even without an audience, is someone who embodies Stoic values. Unfortunately, many people don't align with this ideal. They compartmentalize their public and private personas, projecting an image that serves them socially, while allowing less flattering traits to surface in private. I once had a colleague who was incredibly supportive and warm during group meetings, always offering positive remarks and encouragement. However, in one-on-one situations, his demeanor shifted completely. He became short, dismissive, and only interested in helping if it benefited him directly. This was when I realized his public persona was merely a facade. The most authentic moments don't occur when someone is in the limelight. They arise when they think no one is watching. Whether their actions reflect kindness or cruelty, these unguarded instances reveal the truth. This is where you gain genuine insight into their character. If someone can only be good when others are observing, then that goodness is not real, it's performance. Here's the profound Stoic lesson: true character is defined by who you are in the shadows. not in the spotlight. Stoicism teaches us to live in accordance with our values at all times, regardless of external observation. Whether the room is bustling or empty, a Stoic's actions remain consistent, emanating from within rather than a desire for validation. When you observe others in their unguarded moments, you'll not only see their true nature but also be reminded of the importance of living authentically, even in solitude. So, the next time you seek to understand someone deeply, shift your focus away from grand gestures and public displays. Instead, pay attention to their behavior. When the spotlight fades, that's where their real character resides, and that's where the truth lies. If you've connected with my voice and this video so far, think about it. Why not subscribe? Your support makes this journey even more enriching. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe and join us on this path. Your single click can make a difference in someone else's life too. Let's grow together. 6 emotional reactions unveil priorities. To truly grasp what matters to someone, observe their emotional responses in various situations. These reactions serve as an unfiltered glimpse into their essence, revealing their values, priorities, and what they cherish most. This notion may be contentious, as many of us like to believe we can control our emotions and conceal our true feelings. However, when someone reacts intensely, whether with anger, joy, or anxiety, it's a clear indicator that their feelings are linked to something significant. Take, for instance, a colleague I once worked with who was usually calm and composed. One day, during a routine meeting, a suggestion was made to modify one of his projects, and he unexpectedly erupted in anger. I was shocked the change was minor and hardly warranted such a strong reaction. But the outburst wasn't really about the suggestion itself. It stemmed from the fact that this project was his passion. He had invested countless hours into it, and to him, it was personal. His emotional response revealed just how crucial that project was, even if he had never explicitly stated it. People may not always express their deepest priorities verbally, but their emotions are nearly impossible to conceal. For instance, if a boss reacts angrily when his decisions are questioned, it's not solely about maintaining authority, it's also tied to his self-esteem. Similarly, if a friend becomes overly defensive over a minor critique, it often reflects a deeper insecurity or a value they hold close. The enthusiasm someone displays when praised for their work, that signifies that recognition is a vital priority for them, even if they wouldn't openly admit it. Here's the key takeaway: a person's most intense emotional reactions, whether positive or negative, reveal their core priorities. They might appear detached or indifferent in most circumstances, but when something they care about is threatened or acknowledged, their emotions become apparent. This isn't limited to negative feelings like anger or frustration. It also encompasses the joy and excitement that light them up. For example, if someone gets animated discussing their side project or hobby, it's a sign that it matters to them more than you might think. In relationships, this principle holds great significance. If you're dating someone who becomes disproportionately upset when plans fall through, it indicates that spending time together is incredibly important to them. Conversely, if they light up at the mention of a future trip or activity, it highlights that creating shared experiences is a priority. Emotions are closely linked to values, and by paying attention to someone's emotional cues, you gain a clear understanding of their priorities without them having to spell it out. A prime example of this occurs when individuals become unexpectedly defensive. Imagine you casually mention that someone has been late a few times, and instead of responding calmly, they react with agitation and defensiveness. This reaction isn't solely about the lateness. It reveals that punctuality and the perception of being reliable is something they value deeply. Their emotional response reflects the significance of this aspect of their identity. They want to avoid being seen as unreliable, so they lash out to defend their self-image. Stoicism encourages us to observe human behavior objectively, with emotions serving as a key indicator. When someone's feelings escalate, it often signals that something they cherish is at stake. By understanding this, you can gain insight into those around you and navigate your interactions more effectively. Knowing what triggers their emotions allows you to approach sensitive topics with greater care, fostering stronger and more empathetic relationships. However, there's a deeper Stoic lesson here. Your emotions can also illuminate your own priorities. When you find yourself reacting strongly to a situation, take a moment to consider why. Is it genuinely important to you, or is your ego in play? Are you angry because your integrity is being questioned, or are you simply upset that your reputation is at risk? Stoicism teaches that by understanding our emotional responses, we can gain better control over them. We can distinguish between feelings tied to our core values and those driven by pride or insecurity. The ability to read people isn't an arcane skill. It involves paying attention to subtle cues. Their emotions, body language, and reactions convey much about their true intentions and values. Stoicism equips you with the perspective to observe without judgment. By looking beyond the surface and recognizing the unspoken truths, you gain clarity in every interaction. This skill isn't merely for gaining an edge, it's about cultivating understanding. The more you observe others, the more you learn about yourself, what triggers your emotions, what you truly value, and how to align with your principles. By honestly and wisely interpreting the behavior of those around you, you not only navigate life more adeptly but also become a more self-aware and thoughtful individual. This is the true power, using your insights not for manipulation, but for wisdom and personal growth.